Now, outside the healthcare arena, I've focused on legislation to clean up our drinking water by protecting reservoirs and the watershed areas that feed those reservoirs. I've worked a lot on juvenile justice issues, trying to do the right thing and take our 16 and 17-year-olds that are mired in our adult prison system now receiving no treatment, getting no rehabilitative services, get those nonviolent offenders back into treatment to give them some shot at the apparatus of opportunity in this world. But what I've realized in fighting all of those different fights is that increasingly every step that Connecticut took forward was met with two steps from the federal government moving the other way. I realized that my voice in the end, as much as I love the work I've done on healthcare, as much as I love the work I've done on environmental issues, that my voice in the end was going to be more effective in Washington, D.C. That's where the fights were. And if my mother taught me to stand up for what I believe in, she also taught me to go where the fight mattered most. And that's why, as tough as it is for me to stand here and lead the state senate, lead the work, the colleagues that I love, I know I'm making the right decision. Because I know on those fights that they happen in Washington, D.C. And I know with this district and with 14 others across this nation, we can make a difference in Washington. We can make a difference that the generations to come will thank us for. Now, let's be honest, this election is shaping up to be a little bit more than just a referendum on a laundry list of grievances. I think in my heart that we may be in for what amounts to a battle for the very soul of this nation. And let's not get this wrong. The battle for the soul of the nation, to decide what the foundation of 21st century America will be about, is more than just about any one issue, any two or three issues. It's going in the end to be about the values that underlie our modern society. Now, as Democrats, we've been a little reluctant to talk about values. We shy away from the values conversation. I think what we should say here today is that we shouldn't shy away from values, because you know what? As Democrats, we have values too. We have values too. And our values, I think, in the end, are the values of most Americans. So let's stop running away from this debate, because if we fight it, we will win, especially here in Connecticut. Now, entrepreneurship and ownership and individual responsibility, they're all part of the definition of Americanism. They're important facets of our social fabric. And Republicans, quite frankly, have cleverly seized upon them as a rationale for their destructive agenda in Congress. But what defines this nation, I think, is not our individualism, but our commonality. And the values that underlie that commonality are the values that made this party great. The values that built our modern society. Those values are opportunity, fairness, and tolerance. Those are democratic values, and we should be proud to run on those values. We have values too. We have values too. And if we use those values as a prism to talk about all of our policy proposals and everything that we espouse, we can win back both the votes in this district, the votes across this country, and the hearts and minds of the American people. We have values too. Now think about how different in America, based on the values of opportunity and fairness and tolerance, would be from the world that Nancy Johnson and our Republican friends have constructed today. Our healthcare system would be made accessible and available to everyone, no matter your social or economic position. Our tax structure would be geared to spread opportunity to those who need it most, like working families and the middle class. Our tax system wouldn't be simply a means to redistribute wealth to those that need it least, millionaires and corporate entities. Our nation's energy policy would be freed from the grasp of the oil and gas companies and turned back over to a consumer-based approach, looking toward a long-term reliance on alternative and renewable sources. Our foreign policy would stop sending our sons and daughters, our friends and our neighbors to fight a war that even our own military generals say is being increasingly mismanaged. And our Congress, the People's House, would be turned back over to the people with passage of radical campaign finance and lobbying reform. If opportunity and fairness and tolerance were the values that ruled the day, things would change. Things would be very different. And what is most empowering in this district is that change, that wonderful transformative change in the philosophy of government, may be decided by what we do here over the next 6 months. Increasingly, political prognosticators and handicappers in Washington are telling us that there are 3 or 4 districts in this country that are going to decide the balance of power in Congress, and this is one of those districts. If you want to give up a little piece of your life to be part of this race, if you want a reason to get out of bed in the morning and be part of the battle over the next 6 months, there it is. This little corner of Connecticut, the 41 towns of the 5th Congressional District, may just decide the balance of power in Washington. Imagine that.